Hello everyone, Dark Geyser here, welcoming you to the latest episode in my Space Engineers Survival series. Today we are going to endeavor to replace the recovery vehicle which I ground down last night. I realized as I was putting in the refineries and putting in the modules on the backs of the refineries that some of the modules that I wanted required gold, which I don't have and have not yet seen any deposits of. So I went ahead and I took those modules off. And I also realized late last night that having all of my material in cargo containers stored outside, probably not the best idea. So I have relegated those to storing ice and stone and so forth, and I moved all of the components inside and put them in here. Makes it easier for me to reach them anyway. My medical bay is done, and I have upgraded my interior turrets to Gatling cannons. I've got them set, I think, at 200 meters, so I think it's a good compromise between not shooting at everything in sight and killing everything close by. There's our armed transport warrior back. I also, because of the fact that I have such a tremendous amount of ice and that my hydrogen engines are generating 10 megawatts of power at the moment, and the fact that the guns kept shooting them down, I decided to go ahead and forego the wind turbines for a while. But I had decided to go back to the idea of a small block utility vehicle or small block scrapping vehicle, and I went and I took a look at some pictures. I am definitely not what you would call a design expert, and I'm sitting here debating on what I'm doing. I have decided to model this after the Sikorsky heavy lifting helicopter, in that it's going to have two legs in the back widely spaced, and then it is going to have a large open area in the middle for the actual transportation of cargo, and then I'm going to have a large cargo bay and so on and so forth. So I wanted to see now a large cargo bay, small block is pretty enormous. That's what, 6 by 6? Holy crap. Okay, well, we'll just have to see what we've got. Alright. I think that will be enough. Yep, I can do that. Now, how many these things have large ports all the way around and small ports on top? Okay. So the large ports all the way around are going to work out fine. We're going to go ahead and put that there. The design process, of course, is an imperfect one, especially where I'm concerned. But I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to do something really. There we go. Remember what I said in an earlier episode about your perspective? Now these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. And I probably won't be able to get that other landing gear on there. Nope, I can make that work. There we go. Now that's a medium cargo container, which is nowhere near as useful. So let's keep going with the idea of the large cargo container. And I'm going to try not to make this thing so massive that I can't get it off the ground. Now, I think I put... I think that's how I had the other one. So let's find out. And of course I have the build and repair system turned off so that these will... I can go ahead and I can place this at my leisure and then go ahead and go back and do whatever it is that I want to do with the design without having to worry about having the whole thing welded up on me as I'm working. Now I'm not planning on using the small ports, so that's fine that way. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to have the BAR on. I'm debating, I don't think I'm going to need another set of legs. However, I am going to need more surfaces for thrusters. That's one of the things that I'm going to have to remember is I'm going to need a tremendous amount of thrust on this thing. So we're going to go like that. And this set will not go all the way to the ground. They'll simply be connected that way and that way. Now I think I've got that right. That looks correct on both sides. My sense of symmetry being what it is. And once I get the basic part of this down, then I'm going to go ahead and turn on the BAR and let it go ahead and weld up the basic portion of it so that I can get a better idea of what's going on. So we have a tremendous amount of cargo capacity. I've got landing gear that I can use for trying to pick up something. Now we need to figure out, I still want to use the other cockpit. Now this thing, it does have a large port at the back. Okay, so that's fine. Do I need... Oh, wait, I'm going to need copious amounts of battery power. Now, I could... No, let's just go ahead. We're going to do that. And then that. Landing gear is going to need... Nope, I think that's going to be just right. Oh. Except it needs to be centered. All right, there we go. So put on some small thrusters to supplement, and this will largely be station keeping. Now that doesn't look terribly good. As I had mentioned before, I don't know how much thrust I get out of each one of these, so I'm not entirely sure how much of this is going to be necessary. But after the trouble I had with my last ship and not having enough lateral thrust, you can better believe I'm going to make sure I have enough lateral thrust this time. And this wants to... Will that? No. Okay. That's what we have to do. Alright. Uh-oh. Need to be careful there. Alright, so let's make sure. Because these other thrusters are 3 wide. So we're going to do that. And that. No, I cannot walk under there. At least I don't think I can. Now, here's the interesting thing. I don't think that these things have much of a hitbox underneath. So why don't we... So now you can see part of my design process. That is to say, you can understand that I'm deranged. So now I'm hoping that those 2 thrusters will provide sufficient lift. And if not, we're going to have to do something else creative. Now we've got 1 large, well, medium, and a bunch of small back here. Oh, wait, I can't have that there. I've got to have a connector there. Darn it. Okay, so... yeah, that's going to be my connector. Although, to be perfectly honest... Alright, let's do that. And that. worry about that being so close to the connector. Now if we take that out one more, well, let's see what happens. So, forward thrust, bottom thrust, side to side thrust. I'm not going to worry about downward thrust. That's what we have gravity for. I get nervous every time I do this, because I keep thinking that this thing is just going to fly apart. But I've had plenty of times where I was working on something where I cut the wrong thing and it did fly apart. So I suppose my fears are not completely without justification. Now I must confess I do like the idea of having a few large thrusters instead of having a whole mess of little ones. Although there's something to be said for redundancy if I have a whole bunch of little ones, but this isn't supposed to get into combat at all. I'd also like the idea of having all of the big equipment in the back, and then the front is designed mostly for flying. Nope, I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that extra block under there. Don't know how I missed that earlier. There we go. Now I'm thinking that's enough battery power. I think I'm going to worry about lights and so forth after the fact. I'm also not going to worry about making it horribly streamlined. And unfortunately, I don't remember where all of the connections are for everything. So now we turn on the build and repair, which now makes a bunch of ominous noise, and then there we go. Okay, I was about to say, are you going to do something, or you're just going to stand there making ominous noise? I do have to say that an actual true med bay that's all piped in is an absolute joy, simply because I can recharge everything. I do like the logo. That's nice. Oh, one of the reasons why I needed to build a recovery vehicle. I let my fighter sit outside all night, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, it had its thrusters on. It had something on that was consuming a tremendous amount of power, and so since I had just got done putting on a new battery and the whole thing turned out to be a boondoggle, I left it sit there overnight while I was building the inside of the base. And now it's sitting there and it's out of gas. So I'm probably going to wind up having to put another battery on it, which will have just enough of a charge to get it up off the ground and then get it in here. But I want to make sure that I have all of my recharge areas all set up first, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get the Sikorsky done, so that I would have an idea of how everything needed to go and how much room I needed to have for it. I've been experimenting with the idea of having security drones so that I could set the guns so that they're no longer shooting at the Terminators and they're defending me from enemy ships and so forth. But all of my efforts in creative mode thus far, the drones are being somewhat disobedient. So I'm going to have to look into that and watch a couple of YouTube videos and see how that's going. Now I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to actually try... I had said that I was not fond of using the build and repair systems as recovery, and I think it was because I only had a couple of the systems on the ship, and I put the... damn it. Put the cargo containers in the wrong way. That should have been at the top so that I would have had large ports. on both sides and the bottom. And I think I can go ahead and fix it. I'm going to have to fasten the top. Okay, it would help if I would turn on the... Oh, I turned my dampeners off by accident. Okay. So we're going to temporarily do that. And that should weld all of that together. And then unfortunately, those are going to have to come off, which means I'm going to have to put them on again. I'm hoping I can do this correctly without having this whole thing go kerflooey. I think everything's looking pretty good. Oh, I can reach that thing from here. Didn't think I could reach that aft thruster. I bet my connector's not fastened in anything. Nope, the whole back end of the ship. And now, since none of that is connected, it's all unowned, and so because it's all unpowered, so now the build-in repair is going to grind it up. Oh well. Now let's see if I can do this correctly this time. Big ports. Oh no. But you've got to be kidding me. You've got a small port in the front and a small port. What? You've got a big port there, big port there, and big port there. But you've got a small port, and a small port. These guys are high. So that's going to be... Okay. So we're going to do that. That's going to go that way, which is fine for that because it's only connected to the battery. But now what do I do about this one? I have to have it back. This is nuts. So that'll give me a big port at the back, big ports on both sides, but it'll give me a small port up front which won't link up. So basically this is the only way that I can do this. Wow, that is so insanely stupid. Well, crap. Well, it's what we got to work with. Let's see if I can amend that other thing that I was worried about. Oop. And now, of course, I'm going to start skipping around. think that'll work. I think that looks better anyway. And the connector is now clear of the back. Now that thing about the ports has got me chapped. Now I have no idea if I have enough power on this thing to run all of that or what, but now it looks like I've got that all set up. And I'm going to have to change that somehow because that was temporary and it looks ugly. So, but I'll worry about that later. Actually, I have to have a gyroscope anyway, and to be honest, if I actually do start picking up things that are really heavy, I may need two. Well, alrighty. Now let's see if this thing will actually fly. I think the landing gear is still locked. Just turn it off. Nope. I apparently do not have enough upward thrust to make this beastie work. Okay. Well, I needed to know that. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't put my upward thrusters back on. Dumbass. No wonder I can't take off. I still don't know if that's going to be sufficient for what I need, especially if this is supposed to be a recovery vehicle. But let's go find... Oh, now see, that works better. Nope, apparently still too heavy. Alright. Now this was easy a minute ago. Was it only work from this side? There we go. There we are. 15 minutes worth of power. Some sort of base ship. But my fighter is in no condition to go after it. Well, I want to thank you all for staying with me. The design on this thing took a lot longer than it probably should have. But I think I have a much better recovery and salvage vehicle now than I had before. And after all, that's what counts. Let me turn those back on. Ow. Okay, safety tip. When you climb in the cockpit and you don't have your thrusters on, then you climb out of the cockpit, your thrusters are still not on. And now that I'm underneath, I will probably put more lifting thrusters. I think I will. Just because, well, just because. There we go. Now, that, I think, is going to be plenty of lift. And now I can put all the rest of the vehicles away. Well, first I need to figure out how I'm recharging them all. But in any case, I'm going to do that in the off-screen time. Thank you all for following along again. Also, I appreciate the new subscribers. I also appreciate the comments and the constructive criticism. Everyone has been very nice and very supportive so far, and I very much appreciate that. As always, likes are appreciated and subscriptions doubly so. This is Dark Geyser signing off. Have a good evening.